I spent pretty much the entire day today again working on the script like yesterday. I think I am getting close to a way to represent the script in in such a manner that I am able to, let's say, deal with it. Because the problem I was facing is that the let's say, if you tried to write a script, if you sat down and you tried to write a script, what you would see, I guess, is that just like I saw, you would find that you have what you want to say. Yes, that's the main part, but it's not everything, because it's not like these diaries where I sit down and I talk in front of a camera. The type of videos I do involve like stuff that I can show on the table, or some type of movement, or some like different scenes and transitions and these type of things. And I was feeling overwhelmed by all this additional information that is part of the video, and I was not really sure how to process it. But the current way to write scripts that I found, and it's not something I invented, I just delved farther into the field of screenwriting, and I am learning how people actually write screenplays, which has turned out to be very beneficial, or at least is turning out to be very beneficial. So this is the current status. And the other thing I noticed is that the video itself is becoming, I am, let's say, at a crossroad. On the one side, I can make a single video where I cover everything I want to cover, but the problem is that this video would probably be more or less an hour long, and it's not something I really feel comfortable with, because I know that if I want, I can make an hour-long video, but at the same time, I want people to watch the entire video, and I fear that at the point where I am now, with no one looking at the videos I create, I fear that a 1 hour video would just be too much. I don't think people know enough of what I feel that people are not familiar enough with the type of content I want to create, in part because I myself have not discovered exactly the type of content I want to create. And I have the impression that a 1 hour video would be too daring. I can do it if I want, but I have the strong impression that it would be the wrong decision, because it's a 1 hour video. Think about it. How many 1 hour videos do you sit down and watch from start to finish? It's not that many. And I assume the videos that you watch that are an hour plus are videos from people whose content you are already familiar with. And in some sense, you already know that the video, or at least you expect that the video is going to be good, so you don't have that much of a problem looking at a 1 hour long video. Whereas in my case, being still at the start, I believe that, yeah, maybe it would be better to have a 1 hour video if we think only about the video. But if you look at the video in the context of the channel where I am now, I believe it makes more sense to break it into multiple videos. So it's like a series, it would become something like a series, or related videos, not really I believe a series has a very strong I don't really have an opinion. I just have ideas, but I have not thought too much about this, so I don't really want to take a position. But the problem still is the length of the video, and what I am thinking to do, what I believe I will do, is I will cut the video into multiple ones. So we have the video I'm working on now, which has a beginning and an end, and then the other videos will be sort of further elaborations of topics. So like the first one is, okay, these are the waters we are in, and then the next videos are gonna be, okay, let's dive deeper into this part of the waters or this part of the waters, and it will result, I think, in 3, maybe 4 extra videos. So the end result will be, if you watch the 4 videos, it's like watching the 1 hour single video, but in this case it will be split in 4 videos, the main one and the 3 about details. The thing I don't know is how I will do this cut, because in the video I present 3 subjects plus details about one. So I talk about refactoring, I talk about testing, and when I talk about testing I mention the concept of purity, so having pure functions. And the last one is version control. These 3, refactoring, testing, and version control, I present them as a, let's say, framework to write code. And the current way the script looks, and it's not a way I really like, is I mention the topic, I give you a bit of information about the topic, and then I say, okay, this is just a tiny bit of information. If you want to see more, you have to subscribe, or I advise you to subscribe, so you will be notified when the next video comes out. But the thing I don't like about this way of formatting the video is that it kind of feels shallow. And it's not shallow in the sense that I don't touch on deep topics, because the topic, at least to me, seems to be fairly big. The problem is that I just mention something, and then I don't actually give you anything that's really concrete, and I don't like that way of presenting information. It seems like if I look at the script, I imagine the video. Of course, the video is not ready now, so I cannot actually watch the video, but if I imagine myself to be you, the viewer, watching this video, my feeling is that, okay, this person doing the video is telling me these things, but it's not really telling me anything. It's just mentioning things and jumping here and there, and I don't like this feeling. So I am trying to figure out how to fix it. I don't really have an answer, because the only thing that has come to mind so far is to go a bit deeper in each of the topics, but then the video becomes longer because it takes time to dive deeper in the topics, and it's difficult to manage this time, because even a few sentences spoken at a let's say friendly pace, so not like me trying to talk as fast as I can to fit every sentence within 1 minute. Something like this would be hard to follow. If I try to speak like I am doing now, where you can listen to me at let's say normal speed, or you can speed up if you want to hear me faster, just saying a few sentences like this ends up taking a minute there, a minute there, and these minutes pile up. And so a video that maybe would fit in 12 minutes ends up fitting in 20. And I still feel a bit uncomfortable about the idea of making a 20 plus minutes video. Again, because as I said, I have this feeling that since I am at the beginning with this channel, I worry that if the video is too long, people will not have the, let's say, existing, I don't know if calling it a commitment is the right expression. I don't think people are invested enough to justify to themselves spending 20 minutes watching a video of mine. Which is a bit, if you want, a bit of a contradiction, because one of the videos I have on my channel, I think it's more than an hour long, or maybe it's 40 minutes. I think it's 40 minutes actually. I think it's around 40 minutes. So I already have a video which is far longer than 20 minutes, and I think it's around 40 minutes. But the problem is, when I made that video, I just made it. The purpose was to make the video was the end, and that's it. Whereas here, the video is just the beginning, because the goal of the video is to get the person watching to, on the one side, subscribe, so when I upload new videos, you get notified, or rather, I have at least a chance that you end up seeing it in your inbox. And so it helps in spreading the video further, because to get the video to be seen, there is the initial kickstart where I have to find a way to reach people and get these people to watch the video. And then YouTube is able to build a profile of the viewer and recommend the video to other people. And I want to reach this because I want the message of the video to be seen, to be spread. I want people to hear the information I want to present with this video. And it ends up having a bit of, let's say, an effect on how I end up producing the video, because I am not completely free to create the video the way I don't know if it's actually true, but it ends up having an effect. I think I am fine with the effect, but it's still an effect where I have to think about the video not only as the video, but as the video in the context of YouTube, and as the video in the context of giving you some information, getting you, the viewer, to subscribe to the channel so that you are up to date when I publish a new video. And the closing part of the video is a personal experiment, an attempt to try to get the viewer to share the video. And the point of sharing is that since I am at the start with my channel, I don't have the luxury of having a ton of subscribers who will be notified about the video, and then YouTube takes care of the rest, sending it around in the recommended of other people. So the thing that I believe, the best thing that I believe I can do is to try to have this closing message where I show you why it's important to share the video. And it's I don't know how it will actually work out. Maybe it's just useless. But I think it has a purpose, because it's not the... I have seen this type of things already, but it usually feels like pretty much made up bullshit, because people just tell you something and either they don't give you a reason to do what they are asking you to do, so it's basically useless. They are just wasting everybody's time. Or they give you a reason, but it seems to be fairly superficial or not really good enough of a reason. Whereas in this case, the topic of the video is something that is very, very overlooked in, well, not in computer science when you go to the elite levels, but if you go to the, if you talk with beginners, with people who are new, you see that these are things which are not really talked about. And maybe it's that nobody talks about them because, I don't know, maybe it's not, it's too complex or stuff like that. But I don't think this is the case. And so the video is meant to reach these people who are new to programming, who are not aware of these things. And the purpose of the video is to reach new people who are new to programming, to make them aware about how to, the goal of the video is to show you a way to program where you try to keep in mind that the software is not gonna be done after you finish writing it, and that therefore you should try to organize logic in a way that makes sense, use names that make sense, write tests to check the features that you want to implement with your software, and then do good version control so that you have a history which you can use to move throughout the history of changes that you applied to you, that you did to your software. All these are things that I don't really see mentioned when I look at content that people create for those who are new to programming. And so I wanted to make this video specifically to reach those people who are new to programming and to tell them that, okay, it's one thing to learn like Java or C++ or some other programming language, but there is a lot more. And after you wrote a program, whatever program it is, even if it's just 2 lines of code, after you wrote a program, it's not gonna be over, because the program lives in the real world, has dependencies, these dependencies change, and so it makes sense to program in a certain way, and the message of the video is this certain way of programming. It makes sense to program this way because it's, let's say, a way with which we can prepare ourselves to deal with these failures when a dependency breaks, or not necessarily the dependency breaks, but a change in the dependency ends up breaking our software. I am thinking whether to go deeper into this, because I don't know whether, at present time, I don't know the type of audience that will appreciate these videos. So I don't know whether you are technical and so you would find it interesting for me to dive deeper, or whether you are not technical and the extra explanations would be just superfluous and maybe hard to understand. So I think maybe I will cover this more thoroughly in a upcoming diary. It's gonna be the topic for the coming days anyway, because this is what I have been doing for now the last 48 hours, more or less, and it's gonna be what I continue to do for the at least next 48 hours. So I'm gonna be mostly focused on this in the next diaries. Maybe the last thing I want to mention today is I am aware that when I started this diary, I said it would be only a month and then the experiment would be over. But I don't really like to have this arbitrary deadline where it's 30 days and then it's over. I will most likely continue to do these diaries. I think I can keep it up and do them daily. Maybe after a while they would become redundant, because in the end the number of things I am interested about and the number of things I have to say are limited, and so after a while they would start to become repetitive. But for the time being, I am finding these diaries to be useful for me, because it helps me to get comfortable talking in front of a camera. And the impression I have is I always have these thoughts. So if you plugged into my mind, you would hear these diaries pretty much every day. Even if you travel back in time for the last few years, you would find daily personal diaries that I keep with myself mentally. So this is something I have been doing for quite a bit now. The problem is there is a difference between thinking and talking. Because when you think, it's all inside of the head, whereas when you talk, you have an extra step where the thought needs to come out in the form of words. And what I noticed is that when I think, I'm not really sure why. Maybe it's just I somehow know what I am thinking about, and so there is a sort of self-completion in the thoughts. When I speak, especially I think if you look back at the older diaries, I have this feeling that I get more stuck into what I am thinking about, because I was not so used to put my thoughts into words. And what happened is, what I am seeing is, with these diaries, I am getting also more familiar with expressing my ideas. And I like to think of these as sort of a backup, because I can see how my content, like the video I'm working on now, can take a lot of time. And if now, of course, I can afford to invest this time in the channel, so I can create these more prepared videos. But if one day I won't have all the time I have now, I still want to have a way to still continue to, let's say, back up on the internet my thoughts, so that if they are useful, maybe you are able to see them and derive some value from what I see and how I interpret things. And by becoming familiar with the act of speaking to you through the camera, I have this backup where I can make content that is not, of course, as maybe scripted and entertaining as the one I am working on now, but it's still good enough, because I can sit in front of a camera, talk for maybe half an hour at most, cut down this half an hour into 5 or 6 minutes of video, and then I don't know, I can do some cuts here and there. You can make the video less jittery with editing. Of course, it's not as good as scripting and planning out the entire video, but you can still how can you say it? You can still save yourself by through editing. So you can save a video through editing and make it less bad to hear when you are when you end up watching it. So this is the current status for today. Maybe a bit more rambly than usual. The thing I wanted to talk about was the different ways to do the video, the 1 hour video or the multiple shorter ones. But I also wanted to touch on these parentheses, so I think I will keep them in. For everything else, as always, if you want to see how this diary proceeds, make sure that you are subscribed. And for everything else, I'm Jason. See you next time.